So I welcome you all. Hello, Dwayne, Ava, and everybody. And I shall begin by passing the mic over to Peter.
Hello, everybody. Right, I just got two or three dreams. To discuss. First of all, a fairly inane one, a very short one, which I had the other night. I dreamt I was in the garden, pottering about, and I suddenly saw what was evidently a snake in the garden, which is quite interesting because I love snakes. And I've gotten close and had a look at it, and I could see it was a totally harmless corn snake, or also known as an American red rat snake, which are very popular as pets over here. In fact, we had one for a number of years. So I carefully dug it out, and it was alive, and it seemed quite well behaved. It was obviously somebody's pet that had escaped, and was quite happy to be handled. And I decided, well, I don't know whose it is, where it's come from. So I think we sort of took it in the house, and we sort of mutually decided we'd keep it. And that's really all there is to that rather exciting dream. But the one thing I thought was interesting about it was the reptilian aspect, especially having had the dream, which I told you about a week or two ago, about the T-Rex. So I don't know whether there's any significance in that at all, or whether it's just totally irrelevant. So perhaps Dwayne could let's have his thoughts on that, if you would, please.
Well, it's always a continuing story, young man. So just take a look at it, and again, look at how you see things. So, yeah, maybe that ties into, all of a sudden this thing is in your yard. It was where in the yard, in the backyard?
Well, it was actually in the garden. It's sort of under sort of leaves and things and dirt, and in the back garden, really.
Yeah, is that in the backyard, or where's that?
Yeah, in the back garden, yeah.
Yeah, for the most part, that's your subconscious. So that's the backyard, the back of the mind, like, and so you're digging up things back there, etc. So that's kind of our garden too. The backyard is very interesting. People plant their ideas in the subconscious, and then at times you go back there and you see what's going on. Sometimes there's big growth, so sometimes there's all kinds of things happening. I could tell you a lot of stories, but basically that's your subconscious. So you brought it into the house, which is your personal self. So you decided that. So yeah, that's a little adventure for you to figure out there. So again, it was a snake, but there are a lot of snakes that are harmless. Yes, there are ones that harm you and ones that don't harm you. So again, it's along those lines. See, again, and you made the choice. You decided to bring it into the house.
Yeah, I mean, we're quite used to snakes because we've had several long-term pets. And I think they're beautiful animals, personally. So I love all animals, but I think snakes are my favourite. Much maligned and misunderstood creatures, and the vast majority of them are quite harmless to humans. Okay. Well, there was just one other thing I wanted to add on that one, actually, before I forget, and that is the interesting fact that talk about reptilians. That Kevin was telling me that on one of his astral projection tours, he was advised. He met my sister, who's still with us in this world, and was told that I and her and other members of our family on that side were reptilians, which is quite fascinating. I've always had a great affinity towards reptiles, if I'm honest. I just wonder if that is of any significance.
Well, again, there's the good, bad, and the ugly. So, again, it's we're all beings in bodies, and we decide. Some people want to be that, some people want to be this, or whatever. Again, it's a decision, and you're taking on certain experience. It's just like a college course. This is really what this is. We're here for an education. So, the family thing is of a particular for a while, but as you grow out of that, but again, you decide what your experience is going to be. You came here to experience something. And so, again, things are always changing. So you are always deciding what the experience is going to be. So when it comes to the snakes and whatever, I get the idea that you like snakes. So that's the personal side, but there's something else there to be seen. Okay, so you will recognize that yourself. So I see it as more of an idea that you're taking into your personal self, as opposed to just the idea of the snakes, because that's in your personal life. But that's your real awareness doing that, more so, you see? So there's always something else going on.
Right. Okay, if I can move on then to my next dream. You may recall, I think it's last week, or it might have been the week before, I mentioned about a dream that somebody else had, one of my clients in my accountancy profession, who discussed the fact that she had dreamt that she was in an open grave next to her son, who was in another open grave. And the funny thing was, you said at the time it was probably a warning or something, which certainly seemed like it. But I had a dream about them a few nights later. I dreamt, I don't know why, but somehow in this dream I went and visited them at their house, which is something I've not ever done in this world anyway. And I seemed to have a key to the door, which is even more intriguing. And I went in there, and they were in there, the woman and her son, and they were both, they seemed to have got some sort of disease. I mean, they were covered in black spots all over their faces, and oh God, you know, what's that all about? And then the scene sort of changed, and I saw a lot of men, older men, bald men, and their heads and faces were all covered in these black spots. It was like some sort of plague was on the go. And then it sort of faded away. And I wonder if that was some sort of a warning as well.
Well, if it ties in, if you, in other words, you know this lady and her son that you had mentioned before. You know them, right, Peter?
I've never actually seen her son, but she's spoken to me about him. But that was
okay.
Did I know her from a business relationship?
Yeah, well, you're seeing that there's something going on there, and it's from what they've decided their life to be in some way. Everybody has their, the outer can look fine. It's like Harry on stage. He looks fine, but on the real side, he's in total blackness. And so that's with many people like that. But you're seeing that there's something else going there. So you saw the first part of it where they were in their graves and, in their consciousness, something is going on. But that's, you're having that experience because in some way you're deciding it or whatever. It's always a good objective view of what's going on and to see the choices that people make. Look at the choices that they're making, not necessarily what's going on so much, but the choices that they've made to be in that position, you see? So it's not that, oh, gee, it's bad, I'm gonna run away, I'm not gonna touch him, but you're having the experience. Take a look at why they've come to that point. And just like the world here, it's good to have a perspective of what's going on here. And just like when the so-called United States was created or founded or whatever, the idea, look at it now. It's not gotten better, it's gotten worse. So there's a perspective, but many people will think, oh, gee, we're doing fine because we have technology and we've advanced. No, you've declined. Technology is not an advancement. So again, it's how you see it. So I always look past, the effect. You're seeing the effect and what is the cause. And that there also will help you recognize parts of yourself and also eventually help you recognize the isness, you see. There's always more to it. So you've seen the steps now, so it's showing up and there's something else there. Now you can investigate further or not. It's up to you, you see. Or you can just say, well, they're diseased, I'm not going to touch it. Whatever, you decide.
Right, okay, well, I think I'll keep away from it, actually. Right, the third dream I had, this was actually, I think only last night, in fact, the most recent one, but it's it's a theme that's recurred in dreams that I've had over some period of time. I hadn't had it recently, but first of all, I should say that I've been 56 years now in accountancy, and I think as a consequence, many of my dreams, or most of my dreams, seem to be work related. I can't sort of get away from it. And this was no exception. This was a dream in which I was in some office building I didn't know, but I was in this with a lot of other people in a big room, work at different desks and things. And then for some reason I went into a neighbouring room, and which was a quite enormous room. It was like some sort of boardroom. It got a great big table running down the middle of it. There's nobody else in there except me. And I found myself sitting at this desk and doing some work, paperwork. And it was getting gloomier and gloomier, and eventually it got completely dark. But there was no lights in this room. It was totally blacked out. And I was aware at some point of somebody coming in the dark, but it's so dark I couldn't see who they were, and they went out again without saying anything. I think that was pretty well the end of the dream. It's just that over, not recently, but going back, I think a year or so, I'd got a succession of dreams of going into rooms, normally in houses, my own house and other houses, where there were no lights, and it's going into the darkness all the time. And I wonder if that was some horrible omen about going blind or something, but I don't know. But perhaps this is me. I don't know what your thoughts are on it.
No, I don't see that. I just see that, as we move from position to position in creation, okay, and so we call it dimensions, levels, or whatever. It's like room to room. You move from one room to another. And really what you're doing is, in your own way, you're exploring, all right? And so you might say that the idea of time passes faster there. Everything's like instant. And so as you're sitting there, you're in this room, etc., it gets darker and darker. So that's an indication. And you decide if you're going to stay in that dark room or move to another one. But I see you exploring. It's not about your physical blindness or anything. No, it's not that. You're just simply, there really is exploring different areas, different dimensions. And right here on the earth, there are endless dimensions that are already right here now. It's just you learn to see them or whatever, and you decide to go in there. So you don't have to leave your house. Anything you decide becomes its own dimension. So you're seeing that objectively on the real side. You're exploring in your own way. So eventually, again, it's where your intent is and what you want to figure out. So this is also where the guidance comes in. The guidance is there, but many times the guides will let you, explore on your own. See, just like a baby crawling across the floor, they just let the baby go and see where he's going to crawl. But if he gets in trouble, they pull him back. But they let you see these areas too. I've gone through this all the time. I still go through it myself, because there's just so many areas to explore. And if it's in the business world or other things, I go in there, I take the chance, I take the risk to see what's going on. And then if it's not working, I remove myself. So it's like this for many of us. But no, you're just exploring. Yeah, so you decide if you like that room or not, or you want to redecorate it. It's up to you, you see.
All right, well, I guess that's a bit of a relief, really. Okay, thanks for that. Just one more thing before I hand it over to somebody else to have a go. And again, this was this week. It was about Monday or Tuesday. Well, it's not actually a dream as such, although it may have ended a dream, but I woke up anyway with this piece of music on my mind. I didn't recognise this piece of music. I know quite a lot of music. I couldn't recognise this music at all, but it was in my head for ages. I had a job getting rid of it. And I wonder what on earth it was. I couldn't place it at all. And then about 2 nights later on, I decided something made me want to watch an old DVD. I was about 10 or 12 years old. I know it is because it's actually got the order thing inside it with the date on it when I bought it. I'm pretty sure I hadn't watched it since then. And I was watching this thing for about 3 hours, and when it finally finished, there was this piece of music at the end of it, and I'm sure it was the same piece of music, which I can't remember hearing anywhere else. I mean, obviously I must have heard it when I first bought this DVD, but it was about 10 years ago, and why on earth would I effectively dream of it a couple of nights before, and I suddenly heard it for the first time in about 10 years. It wasn't a well-known piece of music. It was just obviously written for the program.
Yeah, well, it's very simple, young man. In other words, life wanted you to. When the personal self doesn't get it, that's okay. But the real you decided to see that. And when I watch movies, for the most part, they're documentaries. You decide the mode you're going to be in when you watch movies. So you can put it in entertainment mode, where you just want to sit down there and just kind of blank yourself out and just kind of glaze over things and be entertained, okay, whatever it is. Or you put yourself in the kind of documentary adventure mode to see what else there is, see what you can see, because everything we experience, again, is about recognizing the is, but we decide if we're going to do that and what mode we're putting ourselves in. So that's what I see is that you were to see that movie and take a look at that movie and what is it, and it can just be one thing from that entire movie, okay? One thing that can lead to a potential or a huge potential, but you decide, so again, something to spark your awareness of a particular, because that's what it's about. We've been dumbed down into the idea of entertainment, okay, just simply being entertained, going from one point to another, to one spot to another, to be entertained, you see, etc. And this is chasing, you might say, the illusion, but when you put it into the mode of, looking at it like, okay, what is there here? And at the same time, you will, you get your jollies, you're entertained, you get your thrills, whatever, but also there's something else to see, isn't there? So look at the movie and see what you can pick out from it.
Right. Okay, then. Well, thanks very much for that. I'll sign off now.